Now we're going to get on and talk about those things that really have caught the eyes of the judges in the awards. And I'd like to invite Lord Brack to come back to the stage, because he is going to open the envelope and announce each of the winners. So we're starting with the Architecture Writer of the Year, and that is sponsored by BDP. And the finalists delighted and surprised the judges, but they were disappointed that there weren't more in the final selection. The judges would encourage editors to foster stronger critical writing and put more stories into the mix. And so the shortlist is Manond Mollard of the Architectural Review. Manond delivered a selection of serious, workmanlike building critiques that demonstrate attention to detail. Hugh Pearman, RABA Journal. Hugh is a consummate journalist in his field, knowledgeable and confident, with a clear flowing style and a distinctive, authoritative individual voice. His 3 articles show his versatility, love of architecture and journalistic integrity. Third is Isabel Priest, also of RABA Journal. Last year's category winner, Isabel is a beautiful writer, delivering impressive, thorough content in a clear, powerful style. Her writing is honest and revealing, and she makes some insightful criticism of her subjects. So, Lord Black, would you please open the envelope and tell us who has won?
Is Hugh Pearman of the RIBA Journal.
And Chris Harding, Chairman BDP, will present the cheque, if he could come up to the platform as well. Now we move on to Construction Infrastructure Journalist of the Year, sponsored by Wilmot Dixon, a very competitive category with entries of a consistently high standard. The judges were impressed by the breadth of topics covered and the high level of in-depth construction knowledge demonstrated. Enthusiastic research and attention to detail, so important in this category, were clearly evident. And so the shortlist is James Kenny, of Construction Manager, 3 interesting, well-researched pieces covering a wide variety of subject matter. The judges found the piece on quality control a good read, highlighting how the lack of sound quality procedures has given rise to some notable construction failures. A correlation with the demise of the role of the clerk of works is a compelling argument. Second is Jack Simpson, Construction News. The judges were impressed by 3 well-crafted pieces: the interview with J. Murphy and Sons, new CEO Steve Hollingshead was detailed and insightful, reflecting a good rapport between interviewer and interviewee. Third is Catherine Smale, of New Civil Engineer. The judges were impressed with 3 worthy pieces, all well-structured and informative. The piece on the 7 bridge suspension cables cutting out corrosion was highly detailed, giving the reader insight into the complex sequencing necessary to undertake this essential remedial work. Perhaps, Lord Black, you could open the envelope once again to tell us who's won.
And the winner is Catherine Smale.
And if John Waterman from Wilmot Dixon would come up to the stage and present the cheque. Now we move on to News Reporter of the Year, sponsored by 4 Communications. This was another year when the quality of entries in this category was very strong. The national media turned its focus to our industry in 2017, particularly following the tragedy of Grenfell Tower. Yet it was trade journalists that provided the most insightful reporting, highlighting the risks before the event. The shortlist is Pete Apps, Inside Housing. Pete exposed key areas of risk to high-rise buildings in advance of the tragedy at Grenfell and quickly exposed financial issues that affected funding available for refurbishment. Yet he also showed his range by delivering leading coverage of one of the sector's biggest stories of the year. Sophie Barnes, Inside Housing. Sophie undertook a massive research project to uncover previously unreported evidence of risk at one of the biggest stories of the year, whilst also pinning down a government minister to reveal the truth behind the headlines. Third is Richard Waite of the Architects Journal. Richard's style continues to impress, and the web hits for the stories show that they are very relevant and interesting to the AJ readership. Lord Black, would you please tell us who has won?
So, the winner is Pete Apps.
And if Jamie Lay, Property PR for Communications, would come up to present the cheque. And now, Feature Writer of the Year, sponsored by Colliers International. Very competitive and hotly contested category again this year. The comprehensive, well-structured and wide-ranging submissions impressed the judges with their insight and international flavour. The judges had a difficult yet rewarding task, with all the entries being of a consistently high standard. The shortlist is Daniel Kemp of Construction News. 3 pieces covering a wide range of topics. The judges comment that each was well-crafted, informative and impactful. The piece on London 2012, 5 years on, was, in the judges' view, outstanding. Second, Isabel Priest, RIBA Journal. 3 well-structured articles impressed the judges with their level of detail and no-nonsense approach. The review piece on the Bristol Royal Infirmary blended academic analysis with a hard-hitting critique, a combination the judges found compelling. And third is Amber Rolt of Estates Gazette. She produced a diverse range of articles, held the judges' attention with consistent quality and detail, with all 3 pieces flowing well, being both topical and informative. The articles on London's night economy impressed the judges with insightful comment on business and lifestyle trends in the capital. Lord Black, can you tell us who's won?
They've gone missing from heaven.
So the winner of Construction News is Daniel Kemp.
And if Charlotte Williams, Director of PR, Colliers International, would come up and present the cheque. And now we have Business and Financial Journalist of the Year, which is sponsored by ACOM. It's too easy, say the judges, in any form of journalism to write articles that appeal to other journalists rather than to the reader. The best of the articles submitted were judged to be what the practitioners in the industry, mostly outside London and not sitting on professional committees, want from a magazine or newspaper. Journalists spend all week producing their publications. Readers have a day job and can spend only minutes on each publication. That's why strong writing, good design, and easy navigation are important. So the shortlist is Pete Apps, Inside Housing. Pete Apps is good at crunching numbers as well as writing words, and that has allowed him to create his own scoops in the housing world, but he is good too at spotting trends and turning them into stories. Joanna Book of the London Evening Standard. Joanna has the difficult task of turning often complex or parochial property stories into articles that will interest the wide Evening Standard readership. By intelligent use of freedom of information requests, she has produced interesting news stories, and by remembering who her readers are, she can make interviews of property chiefs into general interest features. And thirdly, Guy Montague-Jones of Property Week. And Guy submitted 3 articles that displayed his breadth: a scoop news story, an interview, and a piece of technical analysis. The profile of a European developer demonstrated his stylish writing and ability to find new angles to subjects. He digs for stories and serves up interesting copy. Can you tell us who the winner in this category is?
All right. So, it's a fellow Guy, Guy Montague-Jones, Property Week.
And if Toby Uppington of ACOM would come up to present the cheque. The Housing and Residential Journalist of the Year is sponsored by IBP. And it's a shame that there was a relatively small number of entries this year, following last year's varied range of entries, including some new specialist trade publications and national newspapers. Nevertheless, whilst this category is dominated by Inside Housing, the entries are of a very high standard. All entries were excellent, the judges commented, and so we are about to witness a competition for top journalists in this category among 3 of Inside Housing's talented journalists. So once again, we have Pete Apps of Inside Housing. Pete gave good coverage to 3 very different subjects, including the link between the Grenfell refurbishment budget and the borrowing cap, and an excellent eye-opening expose on one of the industry's more interesting characters. Sophie Barnes of Inside Housing. Over 3 articles, Sophie consistently focused on breaking big stories that matter not just to the industry, but to the wider public as well. An intelligent use of the Freedom of Information Act allowed Sophie to build strong evidence to support stories on 3 of the big issues of the year. And Gabriel Hollander, also Inside Housing. Gabriel covered a good range of subjects in a lively style, supported by appropriate interviews, illustrated key issues in the housing sector. So, can you please tell us who from Inside Housing has won?
So, it is Sophie Barnes.
And if Harriet Hindmarsh, Chair IBP, would come and present the cheque. Now we have Multimedia Journalist of the Year, sponsored by Media Contacts. It's great to see built environment journalists continuing to embrace and develop the techniques of video, newsletters, and social media, rather than just putting print journalism online. And the 3 shortlisted journalists are Simon Aldous of the Architects Journal. Simon has created an engaging and stylishly written newsletter which offers a fresh take on the stories of the week. It's great to see a sub grabbing hold of the subject and running with it. Second, Marcus Fairs of Dezeen. The breathtaking array of new ideas and the sustained energy of Marcus Fairs has made Dezeen part of the community. The achievement lies in bringing everybody with him and creating a real buzz around the site. And third is Martin Hilditch of Inside Housing, celebrating the 50th anniversary of Cathy Come Home by challenging young filmmakers was an imaginative idea driven through to a successful conclusion. It created a lot of innovative multimedia content which was beyond the normal reach of Inside Housing. Would you please tell us, in this category, who has won?
So it is Inside Housing again, and Martin Hilditch.
And would Rupert Wallace of Media Contacts come up to present the cheque? And we're now on to New Journalist of the Year, which is sponsored by the Built Environment Trust. And the judges were impressed by the high standard of all the entrants in this category, which showed maturity, technical and professional skills, and a deep understanding of the issues covered, well beyond their years. And this year's entries demonstrated the very high level of journalism in B2B journalism in our sector. And IBP is delighted to be associated with the initiative created by the sponsor, Built Environment Trust, to award bursary to all 3 finalists in this category. So there will be a bursary to all 3, but there will still be a winner. Each nominee will be commissioned to produce an article that explores and encourages innovation in the built environment and reflects the role of the Trust to provide support for educational research and cultural activities. And so the shortlist here is Lucy Alderson of Construction News. Lucy addresses important gender and mental health issues which the industry continues to ignore and which turns people away from construction at a time when they're most needed. The impact of the content was considerably enhanced by Lucy's solid legwork and clear and powerful style. Next is Nathaniel Barker from Inside Housing. Nathaniel robustly interrogates serious subjects, never shies away from exhaustive research, holds out for hard-to-get interviews, and seamlessly draws together sources into a rich and satisfying whole. His well-structured writing effortlessly knits together quotations from experts and people at the heart of the story. Third is Luke Barrett, Inside Housing. Luke has the makings of a great investigative journalist. His submissions demonstrate lightning response to news events and shows impressive commitment and tenacity to exposing the industry's shortcomings. Lord Black, can you tell us who has won in this sector?
So you might discern a trend here, because it's Nathaniel Barker.
And if Jenny Watt of the Built Environment Trust would come to present the cheque, please.
Terrific.
And could we call up the other 2 shortlisted writers for this, to have a photograph taken with? And now we're on to Scoop of the Year, sponsored by FTI Consulting. A really strong set of submissions, any of them of which could have won in a weaker year. The entries understood the importance of the specialist press in uncovering scandals, cover-ups, and news the subjects did not want to have published. The shortlisted entries were each agenda-setting and consequently given wide coverage in the general media. The final nominations are Pete Apps, Inside Housing. Pete Apps' story, warning of the dangers of flammable cladding on London tower blocks 2 months before the Grenfell Tower tragedy, is one of the best pieces of journalism judges had seen in a long history of IBP. By using the Freedom of Information Act, Apps revealed the dangers of cladding, which, if authorities had acted upon, could have saved lives in this terrible and avoidable tragedy. Next is Mark Hansford of New Civil Engineer. 2 months before billions in HS2 contracts were awarded, New Civil Engineer revealed the winners, the result of foot-slogging journalism at its best by reporters with a deep knowledge of their patch and a web of trusted contacts. And third is Jack Simpson of Construction News. And Determined Digging by Jack Simpson exposed serious conflicts of interest at the heart of the HS2 bidding process. Construction News coverage led to questions in Parliament and the removal of one bidder from the process. Lord Black, who is the winner?
So, making a return journey, it's Pete Apps.
And if Giles Barry, Managing Director of FTI Consulting, would come up to present the cheque. Magazine of the Year Weekly, sponsored by Marley Eternit. The sector is exceptionally well served. The amount of energy displayed is extraordinary. There is an admirable trend for print weeklies to explore social issues impacting their sector. The print platform offers opportunities for campaigning journalism not offered online. And the shortlist is Construction News, a punchy, thoughtful and explorative magazine unafraid to set the agenda on social issues such as mental health and the role of women in a largely man's world. Next is Inside Housing, an extraordinary, well-edited magazine, bold, brave, imaginative. Inside Housing's coverage of the terrible Grenfell disaster led the field. Property Week, a fine demonstration that print matters, sparky, inventive and comprehensive coverage which memorably brought off an accomplished feature on the top 100 players in the sector. Lord Black, can you tell us who the winner is?
And the winner is Inside Housing.
And Paul Reed, Managing Director of Marley Eternit, will present the cup. And next we have Magazine of the Year, non-weekly, sponsored by the Chartered Architects Company. All the magazines that entered were of an impressively good standard, giving the judges a difficult task of choosing an eventual winner. Each magazine was best or second best on at least one of the 5 judges' initial assessment. The subject of the year for the sector was Grenfell Tower, and the judges noted how various publications reacted, sometimes on short deadlines, to the tragedy. But there was a wealth of other subjects, both before and after, and the best magazines produced a variety of content in different styles. Shortlist is Construction Manager. In its new format, Construction Manager has found a niche. A letters column and a diary differentiate it from other publications chewing over the same material. It writes about people as well as buildings, and its format allows bite-sized news items as well as longer analysis. Next, a New London Quarterly. David Taylor produces a lively and colourful magazine that covers a wide variety of subjects, looking at the people involved in property development as well as the buildings. New London Quarterly has short features that cover the aspects of subjects economically, allowing the reader to move on quickly to other interesting articles. And third is Planning in London. Planning in London is a thinking person's journal exploring angles on subjects that escape other commentators. The magazine's edition after Grenfell showed that ability to think beyond the obvious in well-written pieces. Lord Black, can you tell us the winner in this category?
And the winner is New London Quarterly.
And if Stephen Wagstaff, Master of the Worshipful Company of Chartered Architects, would come to present the award. Now we have Digital Service of the Year, sponsored by Goodfellow Communications. There was a clear winner in this category, but the judges were impressed to see the general commitment to embracing the digital platform. There is a growing division between the top performers and the rest of the industry. So watch and learn, say the judges. So we have Dezeen. Dezeen clearly demonstrates its global ambition, constant innovation, and a continuing commitment to new ideas even after 10 years. This is reflected in stunning figures and a deserved reputation for high standards. Next, the Architects Journal. The proof is in the figures, with subscriptions raising by 20% and renewables by 82%. The coverage of the Grenfell Tower disaster was exemplary. And the BIM. The entry stood out for its commitment to video and a differentiated approach. Its short highlight videos, which are specifically addressed to social media, helped to build a Facebook following of almost 20,000 in a niche industry. Lord Black, can you tell us who the winner is?
And the winner is Dezeen.
And would Stephen Harding, Director of Goodfellow Communications, come up to present the certificate? And finally, we come to IBP Journalist of the Year, sponsored by ACOM. And this award is, by definition, for the best of the best. In a year when the judges had the privilege of reading a lot of good entries, choosing who was at the summit of journalism in the built environment could have been very difficult. In the end, while many shone in individual categories, one person stood astride a variety of different sectors, demonstrating the breadth as well as the clarity of thought and easy writing style in their work. Tell us who's won.
I think this one should have a drum roll, actually.
Gerald, where's the drum?
Drum roll. All I can say is I hope he's got enough shelves to put these on, because the winner is Pete Apps.
And if Andrew Jones, Design Planning Economics Practice Leader at ACOM, would come up to present the cheque. That brings us to the end of the awards. Congratulations to all the winners, and I'm going to hand you now back to Gerald.
Thank you very much, Peter. Brilliant job. Thank you, Guy. Beautifully opened envelopes. There you had the results. I think everybody should be proud that they made the final shortlist of nominations. I hope you will join me across the hallway for a celebratory drink. Happy Christmas and good evening.